think Wolverine's photobombing me. Did you know that black cats used to be considered lucky? And in Ireland, if a black cat crosses your path, it's considered a good omen. And in Japan, black cats are considered to bring you prosperity. And we've gone now to where they're considered unlucky and the hardest to adopt in shelters. And I'm going to finish that with my black cat because he is adorable and I am so glad that I have him. Hey, this is Carrie with Canary Quilts, and we are here with the third week of Boo Crew, which is a free pattern that Fat Quarter Shop has put out, and it's a mystery quilt along. So our first week was the broom and the hat, the witch's hat, and our second week was the ghost and the candle, and now this week we've gotten the cat and the cauldron. We just keep getting bigger and bigger as we go. I have no idea if this is how it's going to be laid out. I don't think so because these aren't the same size. Just have them up here to show you what we've got done. So this was a really fun one to put together. There's a lot of pieces. And you'll see that I used alphabetties to keep track of all the pieces. I could have gone into double letter alphabetties with this one, but I used ones 1 through 10. Doesn't make it any harder just because there's a lot of pieces. I still feel, even though we've gotten progressively more difficult, I still feel a beginner could do this. There's a lot of things you learn from these first few that you apply here. So I just really think a beginner who loves Halloween could get into this. But anyway, I've got the link for the pattern down below. I've got, this is the kit that Fat Quarter Shop has for this quilt. You don't have to use it, but I have that link down below for these fabrics. I think it's just cool that the cauldron is orange, and it's she's like a rebel. She's not going to use a black cauldron. She's going to use an orange cauldron. I think the theme is a witch's lair for this quilt. So, you know, we've got the cauldron, we've got the black cat, we've got the witch's hat, we've got the witch's broom. So I wonder what next week's going to bring. I don't know. The other thing is putting this little quilt block in the middle of her cauldron is like a barn square. So she's hip. She's a rebel and she's hip. And then I put orange eyes on this one because my little black cat has orange eyes. And so they suggest using the white that's in the ears. I just went with orange. And then this block, you need to watch this block. I've never done this and I loved it. It is a blast. So if you're following along, hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified on our last week putting this whole quilt together. I have other fun quilt alongs. I'm doing another Halloween quilt along, and I'm doing a designer mystery quilt along. I'm doing US State blocks, so just hit the subscribe button and follow me and we'll have a blast together. So let's get started on our third week of Boo Crew mystery quilt along. All right, we're on our third week of our mystery Boo Crew quilt along, and this week we've got a cauldron and a black cat. So the theme is like a witch's lair theme. So I wonder what next week's gonna be. It'll be interesting. But this week we have a lot to cut. A lot of these are singular pieces. You only cut one, but this is a really good case for these little alphabetties here. And they come with A through Z and 1 through 10. And you can also get double A's or double letters and numbers that go from 11 to 20. This one actually has double A, double B, and double C, which I didn't use. I just changed them to 1, 2, 3. And then I went back here into the pattern and changed the number where it corresponded in the pattern. But yeah, these come in super handy so that you can get all your pieces cut, you get them labeled, and then as you're going through the pattern, you just need to like reach over and say, I need A now, or I need Q now, and grab that instead of being like, which one of these is the right size that I cut? So I've got a link below for these Alpha Bitties. I've been using them a lot in the last 6 months, so I highly recommend them. But to get started here, I've got everything cut, and as you can see, there is a lot here. So we got all our background pieces. The orange is our cauldron, and one thing I did change was the cat's eyes on this are white, and I have a little black cat named Django, and he has orange eyes, so I'm changing his eyes to orange. So I just marked that down here. You can do the same thing if you want with green or yellow if you have it. So that's the only change I made. I've got these accent pieces, which are the ear and this block in the middle of the cauldron. And then the black is the cat. So yeah, we've got a lot of pieces here. But I don't think it's going to be too hard to put together. Also, they've noted that you can use a finished half square triangle paper, which they have available. I don't have those, but there's a little triangle here, and in the pattern it's denoted where you would use these if you have them or you're interested in them. I don't have them, but it's optional. Square triangle paper by Triangles on a Roll is what it is. But this is a free pattern. If you're new here, and I did mention that before, this is a free pattern at Fat Quarter Shop. You do not need their fabrics to get this pattern, but I do have a link to their fabric kit, which is I am using, if you like these fabrics. So, you know, you can check down below for the kit, or you can use your own fabrics and grab the pattern and sew along with us. All right, we're gonna start with the cauldron. And this looks like a lot of fun. So to get started here, we are getting ready to put together the cauldron. And the first thing we want to do is we're just going to start putting pieces together, and then we'll put it all together to make the cauldron. So we need L and H first, and we need 2 H's. So I took those out, and we only have 1 L. And I've put a diagonal on the back of both my H's. And we are going to put these on the corner, right sides together, of our L, so that we're cutting off the bottom right hand corner, and we're cutting off the bottom left hand corner, the bottom right hand corner. And what I mean by that is we are going to sew along this line. We're going to trim 1/4 inch from this seam and cut this corner off. And then we are going to iron towards the orange piece. Okay, I got my seams done. Now we want to trim 1/4 inch from this seam I just made. We're going to cut that corner off. Oops. I think I need a new blade, Mom. I will change it. And then we are going to iron these towards the orange. Sometimes the way you iron is so that your seams will nest together. And sometimes the way you iron your seam is to set apart a fabric. Like this. We're going to set this fabric apart from the background. It just kind of makes a difference when you look at it, almost like when you quilt around something, it really makes it pop. The way you iron your seams can do the same thing. So there's our first section done there. So now this next thing we're going to do is a fun one, is we're going to build this quilt block in the center of the cauldron. So we're going to start with our R and our N. And our R is right here, and our N is right here. And we need to mark the diagonal on the back of all of these. So I'm going to get that done. Okay, now that I have all my whites marked, I'm going to take a white and an orange, place them right sides together. We will pin these, and then we are going to sew 1/4 inch on both sides of this line. So I set my 1/4 inch foot, I set the 1/4 inch right here on my line so that when I'm sewing I'm 1/4 inch away from it. And then we'll come back and we're going to trim right down that line and we'll have 2 blocks out of this. Okay, I've got my pieces sewn 1/4 inch from the line on each side of the line. So that way we can come here and we can just trim right down this line and we end up with 2 pieces, 2 blocks. So we'll end up with 8 half square triangle blocks. And then we are going to take these and we're going to iron them all towards that orange piece. Look at that cute little block right there. So I got my blocks all ironed towards the orange piece. Now I trimmed the tails off, but now we're going to make sure that our block is 2 inches. And I line my diagonal up here with the seam. I put my 2 inch mark on each side here, and then we're going to trim it up. And then we'll flip it over and see if it needs a trim on that side. Same thing. Diagonal on the seam, 2 inches on the edge. And there you go. Trimmed up to 2 inches. And make sure all 8 of them are 2 inches. Okay, I've got my half square triangle blocks squared up to 2 inches. I pulled out my O pieces because we're going to start building these corner blocks here. And we're going to make 4 of them. And we're going to lay them out so that we've got an orange piece patch on opposite corners, and then our half square triangle patches with the white pointing at each other. So that's going to be our corner blocks. There's no seams to match, so we're just going to put these together. We're going to sew them, and we are going to iron towards that orange patch. Okay, I've got all my pieces sewn together here for the corners, and we're going to iron all of these towards the orange patch. And by doing that, we'll ensure that all our seams will be in opposite directions, or I should say our 2 seams, and they'll nest together to make that nice crisp point in the middle. Okay, I've got all my pieces ironed towards the orange patch, which means that this seam is going this way and this seam's going this way. So when we put them together, we can butt our seams up to right next to each other, and we'll have that perfect little point in the middle. And this, when we're done, will give us 4 corners. And when we're done, we are going to be ironing towards just one way. Iron towards either side. Okay, once you have your rows together sewn, just pick a side and iron it towards one side. Now we have all 4 corners, and we have beautiful points in the middle because of our nested seams. So now we can put our little quilt block together. And we need to grab fabric T and Q to build our quilt block. So we need to let's just lay our little block out, make it easier. Need to take a corner and a T and a corner. We're going to do that all the way around. To build our block, and then our Q goes right here in the middle. So now what we're going to do is we basically have a 9 patch, and we're going to put it together by row. And we are going to iron towards the white. So if you iron towards this white piece in the center, then these seams right here will be nested when we put it together. Just start here. And we will start sewing these rows together to get our little 9-patch block. And remember to iron towards this white piece. Okay, I've ironed towards the white piece. We'll put it back in place and we'll just add our third section and do the same thing. Sew it, iron it towards the white piece. Okay, I've got my rows ready and they're ironed towards these white pieces. So when we put it together, these seams will nest, and just like before, we'll have those nice points there in the middle. And then we are going to iron this also towards this center white row. Look at that cute little square. Just like a barn square, but it's a cauldron square. Okay, we can finish building our cauldron. So we are going to need P and K. So here's K, here's P. And what we're going to do is we're going to put K on the edges. First, and then P is going to go on top of it to finish that cauldron out. Not finish it out. Still need to put the corners on. So we are going to put K on. We'll put both sides on and then we're going to iron towards K. And then once K's are on, we'll put P's on and we are going to iron towards the P's. So always iron towards the orange. So we'll start with K. Okay, I got my K's on and they are ironed towards the orange here. So we'll get our P's on and we'll do the same thing. We're going to iron towards the orange. Okay, we've got our little cauldron block done. And it turned out really cute. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a H piece and we're going to mark 4 of them with a diagonal on the back. And we are going to put them in each corner so that we're cutting the corners off. And just like we did before, we're going to sew along this line right here, and then we're going to trim 1/4 of an inch away from this line and cut off our corner. And then we are going to be ironing towards the purple. There we go. And sewed on the line. Trim 1/4 of an inch away from where we sewed. And we are ironing towards that purple corner. Okay, there's our cute little cauldron getting started with the quilt block in the middle. Well, look at there, I made a mistake. Yeah, that is so hard to tell. I am not changing that. So, next thing we need to do is we need to grab our M, H, and J pieces and take 2 of the H's and mark them on the diagonal and 4 of the J's and mark them on the diagonal. And we've got 2 M's, and what we're going to do is on one of these we're going to put our J's in the corner in the left hand, or on the left hand side I should say, not the corner. And then we're going to put our H in the bottom right hand corner. And then on the other one we're going to do, I believe, just the opposite. Yes. We're going to do our H and then our M's. Like this. So that's how we're going to put together these 2 pieces. So just keep that in mind, they're not the same. So let's start with this one. This one you start with the J piece up in the corner. And we're going to sew on this line and we're going to trim 1/4 of an inch and we are going to iron towards the purple corner. Then on the other one, we're starting with the H piece. This is going in the bottom left corner that we're going to cut off. We're going to do the same thing. Sew along the line, trim 1/4 inch from the seam, and then iron towards the purple. Okay, I've got these on, iron towards the purple, and on this one we're going to add our other corner, so it's cutting off that bottom left section. And then on this one we're going to start with our bottom right section, put our purple in, on, and do the exact same thing. Sew on the line, trim 1/4 inch from the seam, and iron towards that purple. Okay, got these two. Now we're ready to put the large H down in the bottom right hand corner of this one, and the small J in the upper right hand corner of this one. And we'll be finished with these blocks. So we've completed the legs to our cauldron here, and they're just gonna sit like that when we're done. But what we need to do is finish this section for the legs, and we're gonna have to get our F out and our I out. We only have one F, and we need 2 of the I's. So it's gonna go together like this. Pretty simple. The F is going to go in between our cauldron legs, and the I's are going to go on the end. So we'll just get these sewn together, and we're always going to be sewing towards these purple patches. So pretty easy. So there is our cauldron legs, and we get to put it together now. Here is our cauldron. And then right here's this first piece we did. And this is going to go just like that. So we're going to put the strip on the top and the strip on the bottom. And we're going to iron these open. And we'll be done with our cute little cauldron. So you want to match these seams. And they are actually nested. And we'll sew along this, and we're going to iron this open. Okay, now when we put the bottom on, these seams right here are going to match. And these happen to not be nested. You can just line them up. And then we're going to sew it, and we're going to iron it open. And there's our cute little cauldron block. Oh, that's so cute. This witch has style. Not only is it not black, she has a quilt square on her cauldron, so she is a rebel. So now let's get started with the cat. Yay! To get started on the cat, we're going to be making a flying goose. We're going to make one that's really interesting. I've never made one like this before, so let's get to it. This is going to be fun. So we need D, W, and S. D is the base of our flying goose, and we're going to add our W's. So we need to put a diagonal on the back of our W's. And then we will put it so that we're cutting off that bottom right or left corner. So let's get started with this. We're going to sew on our diagonal, and we're going to cut 1/4 inch from our seam, and then we are ironing towards the black piece. We're going to add our other black to the other side. And we're going to sew along the line, trim 1/4 inch, and cut this corner off so we have this flying goose unit. This is our typical flying goose. Now we're going to take our S, mark the back on a diagonal, and we're going to put this now in this corner. Set it on the black, So you're going to cut that black corner off. So this is, it's going to be the ears of the cat, but I have never made a flying goose like this, and this is really interesting, and I can't wait to see how it turns out. So, sew on the line, trim 1/4 inch from the line, and we are ironing towards the white piece. Again, flying geese units are so versatile. It's amazing. So are half square triangle units. But this is cool. I've never done this before, and I like how they did it. So iron towards that white. Look at that layered flying goose unit. That is cool. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the eyes together. And my eyes were orange. So I need to, it would be either the CC unit or in my case the 3 unit. And I have 3 of them, 3 of the blacks. I have 2 of the oranges. And we're just literally going to put them together like this to make the eyes. And we are always going to iron towards the black for this strip. So let's get this put together. Okay, there's my eye unit. So we've gotten our ears and our eyes done. So we'll set those aside for now. And the next thing we want to do is take our AA, which is, for me, is a 1. So there's our AA, or in my case, my 1 unit. And then we need to take a J. And we only need 1 of these. And we're going to mark it on the diagonal. This is going to go down in the left-hand bottom corner. Bottom left corner. That's what we're going to sew and cut off. So you know the drill. Sew on the line, trim 1/4 inch from the seam, and iron towards the purple. Okay. So we are ready to put the face together. So I need my 2, or it's the BB unit. In my case it's the 2. And I need the eyes. So we're going to put our little face together. My little kitty cat's face. Right there. So we're going to just put our rows together, and we're going to iron towards the outside rows. So towards the big black patches. So there's our kitty cat face. And then we're just going to continue putting this little kitty cat together. So I'm going to set this aside. We won't need it for a few minutes. Put it over here with the ears. So we need a Z and a J. And we're going to need 2. We're going to need 4 actually, 2 per square. So we got our G and or our J and our Z, and we're going to mark the back of our J's with a diagonal. Okay, now that we have them marked with a diagonal, we are going to put our J's in the upper left corner. Oops, that was attached. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, we're going to put our J's in the upper left corner and the bottom right corner. And as we've been doing most of the time, we're going to sew along that line, trim 1/4 inch from our seam, and we're going to iron towards the purple. So I've trimmed 1/4 inch away from the seams, and we're going to iron towards the purple. Okay, I've got these 2 sections done, which are going to be part of the tail. And I've ironed those towards the corners. Now we're going to take our Y and our H pieces. We're going to grab 2 H's, mark them on the diagonal, and we've got 2 Y's. And we're going to put these on the bottom right hand corner of our Y, and as we've been doing, sew along the line, trim a 1/4 inch from your seam, iron towards the purple. Okay, I got these 2 pieces done, iron towards the purple. Now we're going to put these 2 together, and they're going to go together like this. So we are going to iron towards, once we get it sewn, we're going to iron towards this larger black piece. So I thought this was the tail. I think it's the feet. I think it's the feet. We'll see. So now we're going to start assembling our kitty cat. And I'm looking at my kitty cats right now. My black one and my black and white one. So we need C. And we need the ears. Then we need the eyes. Oh, and we gotta make a section here. That's interesting. And then this is gonna go like this, and we need to make a section with X. We just need one. And I, and we just need one of these. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. We need to put this together, and we're going to iron towards the black. Okay, this piece is ready. So I wish you were here to tell me to make sure my ears are in the right way. We're going to put these 2 pieces together, sew them, and iron towards the purple. There we go. So all I did, as a recap here, all I did was sew each piece to each other, and then this piece I ironed towards the purple, and then the rest of this I just ironed towards the piece I just put on. So you're just always ironing towards the bottom of the cat. So now we need to put this aside and finish the rest of the cat. X, and there's 3 of them left, and that's how many we're going to need. And we're going to need H, and we're going to need 3, we're going to need 6 of those, which is what I have left. So X and H, and mark the back of your H with a diagonal. Okay, we've got all our H's marked with the diagonal, and we're gonna take our 3 X's, and we're gonna put one of our H's in the top left corner, and we're gonna put our other H in the bottom right corner. And you know what? We can't sew these at the same time, because unless you want to, you just need to remember to pick that up. Let's just do 3 of these. So you want to take your H, or your X and your H, and put your H in the upper left corner of each of these X's. And as we've been doing, sew on the line, trim a 1/4 inch from your seam, and iron towards the purple. There's the first 3 halves. Now we're going to come over, and we're going to put on the right half, and we're going to do exactly the same thing, except we're going to iron towards the black this time. Okay, so now we need to, for 2 of these, take our G piece. Let's grab our G. And we're going to just put it right here on the left-hand side, like that. And we are going to iron towards the purple patch. So we got 2 of those, and then on this last piece, we're going to take our remaining, or not our remaining, but two of our eyes. Looks like we might need another eye unless I cut too many. And we're going to put it on either side of this last piece right there. And we are going to iron towards these purple strips. Okay, there are our pieces that we just built. Recap, G goes on these two and you iron towards this purple patch. Eyes go on this one, iron towards the purple strips. So we're going to put them together like this. We're going to put the ones with the eye sections in the middle, and then we're going to flip this one over. And then we're going to put these three together and we're going to iron towards these outside strips. So away from the ones that have the little eye strips on them. Okay, there's that section done. And I'm just going to set that over here with the other sections. And now we need to take our V and our J that we have left over. We're going to mark our J on the diagonal. I'm going to put it up here in the upper left-hand corner. And sew on the line, trim 1/4 inch from the seam, iron towards the purple. We are ready to put the back half of this kitty cat together. Oh, goodness gracious. So we need the tail, which goes like this. We need the butt, which goes like this. And we're going to need the feet that we saved from earlier, which are going to go down here. We also need B and A. Okay. So our B is going to go on the left-hand side of our tail, and our A is going to go on the right-hand side of the posterior and legs. So we need to get the legs sewn onto the bottom of our body. And we are going to iron towards the body, the big black patch. Okay, so we just put the feet on. Now we're going to put piece A onto the right side of that section. No seams to match. And we are going to iron towards the big purple A. We are going to add the B onto our tail unit on the left-hand side, and we're going to iron towards the purple B strip. Okay, so now, oops, get that turned over. Have a weird looking cat. We're going to put the top to the bottom, the tail to the posterior, and we're going to iron towards the posterior. Alright, there's the back half of our kitty cat. Now we can put the front half on, and we're actually going to sew this and iron it open. So these seams will match. Hi, Snibbies. These seams will match, and that's it. So match up these bottom seams, and they were ironed to nest. And remember to iron this seam open. Oh my gosh, that is so cute. There's my two sections, the cauldron and the cat. And all we have left is our E, which is going to go in between the two. So you can sew E onto the cauldron, and we're going to iron it towards this purple strip, and then sew the cat onto this section and iron it towards the purple strip. And we will have our section done. Oh, my kitty's so cute. My kitty is so cute. I got so excited when I finished it, I forgot to do an outro. But I just wanted to show you what it looks like It turned out really super cute. I'm looking forward to next week when we finally finish it up. So if you're following along, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can get notified when I put this out next week and see what it looks like when it's done. And thank you so much for watching this video.